Hello, everyone. Welcome to this slightly messy background, which is perfect because I'm talking about what did I learn from the 100 Women of Vision Masterclass event. What worked really well? What didn't work? What did I learn that I can share with you for your learning for the next big event that you want to do, the next launch that you want to do, the next vision that you're creating out in the world? Um, yeah, so there's detail organizational stuff. It's not my strength, but I'm going to share a little bit about that. But mostly the biggest things that I learned is a reflection of what really does work. So this is the longest lead time or planning time I've ever done for anything in my business that actually happened. I've had many ideas in the past about things I could do next year or 6 months from now or whenever, but they never happened. I didn't make them happen. This is the first time it was, I think, a 7 or 8 month lead time from idea to when it happened. And part of the success of that is that I really came from a connection with spirit, with God. So that would be my number one first thing that I learned is make sure it's of God. Make sure it's connected to spirit. Make sure it's now if you're not in that world or if the language doesn't work for you, that's fine. Make sure it's your truth coming from your heart, not from the excited emotion like, oh, this is my truth, this is my passion. That's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about your deep down core gut truth, because it takes a special something to keep it going for that long. So that's the first thing that I would say. And with 100 Women of Vision, that came from, I had a business goal, and then I was sharing that with God one morning in alignment with my beliefs, talking to God, and then God up-leveled that to a project. And I said, I don't want to do a project. I'm done with projects. I used to do them all the time. I don't want to do one. And God said, no, it's going to be bigger than you. And I said, oh, fine, fine. Uh, so yeah, make sure it's connected to your highest truth. So that's the first big one. The second big one is make sure that you are clear on your boogeymen, your biggest shame triggers, or shame storms, I think, as Brene Brown calls them. Make sure you're clear on your biggest limiting beliefs, the biggest stopping blocks that you have, because they're going to come up in any event or launch that you do. They're going to come up. So make sure you're clear on those, and you've done the work to clear them energetically before you start, or that you are aware of them before you start and you can clear them during the process when they come up, because new ones are going to come up, and or your old stuff's going to come up, but at least you'll have that momentum of being able to see them and clear them. You'll have practiced the tools. I would not start anything like this until you're clear on that level. So those are the two biggest energetic things that I would say. The other things that I really learned on the practical side is the power of hubs, as Tad Hargrave talks about hub marketing. Fully a quarter or a third of the tickets sold for this event were because I did a live in a client's Facebook group about 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the event. And that recommendation and doing that live in there, and I guess having content, that's the basic level. The content that I presented got great engagement and really connected with that group. So that's the basic level. But the next level is the power of hubs, connectors, influencers. And the counter to that, how much it doesn't work to just post things and share them on social media. We had a lot of wonderful people sharing a lot of wonderful content, and that didn't do anything. No one signed up from that. Now, I do think that if I had had more wonderful and amazing people doing that for longer lead time before the event with a better plan leading up to, it definitely would have helped. But with where everything else was at, that was not the best use of our time. So that's the other learning is kind of what doesn't work. So connecting with new hubs and fresh audiences that are inspired by your message would be a practical thing. The next one is clear expectations for yourself and others. This is something that I finally did almost really well. And I've been doing projects and launches for, I don't know, a decade. Finally, I did it pretty well. And there's still so much to improve. I messed up with the speakers. Some of my expectations were really not clear. They were all wonderful about it. They were very patient and understanding. But having even more clear expectations is as soon as you think that your expectations or requests are clear enough with anyone that's supporting your events or speakers at an event, if it's that kind of thing, get them even more clear. even more clear. Next one is self-care. Do even more self-care than you think when it comes to any launch, any event, any program. I had great self-care and I could have doubled it easily. Um, and along with that, communicate with the people in your life. Like my wife knew that this was all happening. I shared with her, but it would have been a way better thing to do if I'd sat down with her 2 months before or a month before and said, look, this is what I'm going to need. And what do you need during this time as well? So it's not just about me, obviously. We're in a relationship. We have a 3-year-old daughter. So getting your team on board, your family team as well, is key. The biggest thing that I learned from me, because I'm not an administrative kind of person, if that's you as well, have your administrator on board at least 6 months before the event. Do not do as I tried to onboard new administrators or project leaders in the 6 months before the project. Don't do it. Either do it all yourself or get that person in place 6 months before. If it's a way smaller event, I guess 3 months would be okay, but I say 6 months. The stars, in quotations. We did this really well. We planned it on purpose for the new moon, and then I had to move the date back once, maybe twice, but made sure it was still in line with the new moon. That went really well. Also made sure that it wasn't during Mercury in retrograde or the lead up to Mercury in retrograde. Now, this might sound crazy if you've never heard of this kind of thing before, but I have found it to be really an influencer. It doesn't mean that you can't have the event, but just account for it. So I chose to do it before that all happened, and it definitely helped. Having that, it just smooths things out. Let it evolve, but stay focused. So too often we let things evolve too much, especially if you are a holistic business or a spiritual kind of person, as a lot of my audience is. We let it evolve too much, so it departs from its original intention and becomes something completely different. But there's power in consistency and saying the same message over and over and over and over again. So our message stayed the same, but the language evolved a little bit as it went. And in the end, it was a really, really good thing. It was a great learning, but it stayed centered around the same theme of empowering women in business. Now, the language changed from empowering women in business to receive money, because I realized that the energy of that sucked, and we weren't attracting the right kind of women to this event. They weren't at the right stage of business. They weren't going to be buying tickets because they needed money. So we changed the language and the energy, and it became more about empowering women to receive, but empowering women to own their expertise and to drop imposter syndrome. And I know some of my most successful clients, 6-figure earners and beyond, who still deal with imposter syndrome and self-confidence stuff, and they know that. They're the first to acknowledge that. So those are the kinds of women that we wanted to attract, and that went really well. So let it evolve, but stay focused on the core message. And know what works. Know how to fill an event, which seems crazy if it's your first big event, as this was for me. But I know that I don't yet sell really well in my business through email. I'll learn, but I don't yet. So I'm not going to rely entirely on email list to fill the event. What do I know really does work? Hubs and personal invitations. So what did I do? Hubs and personal invitations. And so we had some really wonderful people at the event. Now, I have a lot to learn, because to really put on an amazing event, you need email and social media and other people doing invitations and your hubs and everything working together. So, this was child's play in comparison to what may come in the future. But just, know what works and what doesn't work. Sharing and posting on social media doesn't actually work. You need some personal invites. Unless you know that you just can make a post and people sign up for stuff. If you know that, then great, do that. And stay open. Last part is to stay open to magic and miracles. We had some wonderful women show up. One in particular, actually, I shouldn't say that, all of them, but one woman gifted us at the very end with a beautiful song and ceremony. And it was just, that was spirit looking out for us and making the event better than I could have ever planned. So stay open to the magic and miracles. I think you kind of have to be a little bit A-type to put on an event like this. Maybe not. Maybe that's just my story. So if that's you, if you are a bit of an A-type, as I am a little bit, maybe, stay open to the magic and the miracles. So a few things that didn't work. Um, for me, and it's just learning. I didn't have a clear expectation of my speakers and my ambassadors of the numbers that I was asking them, like in terms of numbers of bums and seats. But that was mostly because it was our first event, and I didn't know that we could really pull it off. Mostly, I didn't know if I could really pull it off. So I wasn't gonna, make some huge big request of them to do it. All the speakers were amazing. All the ambassadors were amazing. Everyone was incredible. And for our next big event like this, if we ever do it the same way again, there'll be different expectations, clear expectations of bums and seats. I had no one managing details with me during the event, so get a co-host. There's all the stuff that didn't work. So it didn't work for me to be hosting and presenting and all last minute signups and reposting stuff on like get an event manager who hears like, oh, that was great, and then repost it on Facebook and all that jazz. Get someone else to do that. I didn't have clear housekeeping reminders set up as a list, so I was just making it up on the fly, and I missed a bunch of things during the event that would have been great reminders. So have your list made beforehand. This is a funny one. Don't use Google Docs. It sucks. Just don't use it. Do anything else unless you already love Google Docs. But don't put all your speaker information and all vital information up on Google Docs where you can't find it because it disappears during a big event. Do something. Use something that you are really comfortable with. Okay. So those are my biggest learnings. Hope this is valuable. If you're putting on an event, please comment below and let me know, what did you learn from this? What will you use in your next launch or event? What surprised you? Were there any of my points that were a shock to you? Or is there anything else you'd like to know about the event and how it went? Likely, if you're watching this video, you have heard about the 100 Women of Vision event. The private Facebook group is still going. It's actually growing in its engagement. We're going to do another small event in less than a month at the next new moon. So if you like the sounds of that, of women in business being empowered to really own their expertise, to step out of imposter syndrome, to receive, to create amazing businesses that change the world, to sell in alignment with feminine energies, not masculine, to brand yourself in a playful way and to screw all the expectations, and to really clear those energetic beliefs, those blocks that might be keeping you in a rut that you don't want, and to really know that you're enough, that you are enough, and you don't have to have those self-confidence blocks anymore. If all that sounds great, we would love to have you come join us. I think I might open up that private Facebook group as we get ready for the next event. So as people buy tickets for the next event, we'll have a short speaker session. We'll do specific belief clearing with myself. We'll have networking, so you can come and join with other women in business to share, what do you need? What do you need in your business? Do you need clients, referrals? Do you need support on ideas and brainstorming? Do you need tech support? And then what can you offer? What can you give to the other women that are there? We'll have that networking opportunity as well. So if all that sounds good, we'd love to see you at the next event. I don't have the link for you yet because it's not created, but that's the idea. That's what we're moving towards. And that should be my last point, actually. That's how it all starts. It starts with an idea and sharing the idea. So if you have an idea, if you have a vision, start now. Don't wait till you got the tech all figured out and the team all in place. Just start now. As Les Brown talked about in one of his speeches years ago that I will never forget. It's like, just go right now. It's like, but I don't have any shoes on. It doesn't matter. Just go. Just start running down the road, find the shoes on the way. Basically is what he said. And I'm a big fan, because if I had waited to get everything right, it never would have happened. Guaranteed. Okay, have an awesome day or night whenever you see this, and I will